I am Chuck Taylor, and I've got here Evan Weinzierl with me. We're going to try to get him on the other end right now. We got a few hot topics for you today. We're going to focus in on baseball, and we're going to go through the Home Run Derby. We're going to touch up on the All-Star Game, and we'll finish up with kind of the current state of the MLB. Evan, do I have it on your phone? Have you on the phone there?
Yes, I'm on the phone right now.
All right, so let's get into it. So the 2017 MLB Home Run Derby. First off, if you guys haven't yet, go on Facebook, go online, and fill out your bracket. And you can enter in for a chance to win 4 free tickets to the World Series, so who doesn't want to do that? So go ahead and make sure you get that done. But we'll talk the Home Run Derby. So, Evan, tell me about your bracket. Who do you got advancing? We'll go ahead and go matchup by matchup. So let's start it off. Stanton and Gary Sanchez, what are your thoughts?
I'm definitely going to have to go with the Stanton champion, man. Gary Sanchez, I have to agree with some of the critics. I don't think he's going to be doing so hot. I think he was kind of just a last-minute entry. I don't see much from him coming into the Home Run Derby at all. So I'm going to go with Stanton on that first one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Returning champ, I mean, Giancarlo's a stud. This guy, if you don't know, he's like 6'6", 6'7", like 240, 250. This is a big dude. He loves hitting home runs, and he's going to be in his home park. They're in Miami, so I don't see Sanchez even coming close to Stanton. So next matchup, Mike Moustakas, and your very own homeboy, Miguel Sano, the Minnesota Twin. Who you got?
Oh, I'm definitely going Sano. Sano on his bat now this year. He's doing.
You're breaking up there a little bit, Evan.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up there a little bit. What were you saying about Sano?
I said Sano, my homeboy. I'm going to have to take him for sure.
Okay.
Mike Moustakas is a good bat, but the thing is with Mike Moustakas, I think he's just a little too inconsistent for my taste. He's a bit streaky, as they would say. But I think Miguel Sano, he's found his consistency. He's done very well in this first half to the All-Star break here. And I think that's going to continue into the Run Derby. So I think he'll be a good matchup for Stanton to take on the champion.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think I picked Sano in my bracket. Moose is a fun player to watch. They're both good young players. I think Sano is a little bit more of a strictly power hitter. I think Moose is having a power year. The past couple years, actually, for him has been more of a power year, but he's already tied his single season high so far this year. So he's having kind of a career year. Maybe some of it's luck, maybe some of it's skill, but I think Sano is more of that, pure power hitter, and I don't think he'll have too much trouble advancing past Moose. So the third matchup, Cody Bellinger, the hot rookie out of L.A., and Charlie Blackmon of the Rockies. Who you got in this one?
I think Bellinger is a very good competitor. I think he'll do very well in this Home Run Derby, but I'm going to take my upset with Charlie Blackmon. I think Blackmon is going to come out and surprise a lot of people with some of his home runs. I just feel that's going to be the upset, and that's going to be the spot to look for it.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, Bellinger, if you don't know, he's already got 24 home runs as a rookie. So, Aaron Judge just hit his 30th yesterday. So, he's right up there. Bellinger has been impressive. Charlie Blackmon, not really known as a power hitter per se. He does have 29 home runs in a season, but, that's also pretty much attributed to playing in Coors Field, half the year. Huge hitter's park, so that could definitely have something to do with it. But Charlie Blackmon is a very impressive hitter. He hits it to all fields, so he could definitely be a competitor. I actually have Cody Bellinger advancing in this one. I just think the kid's got a lot of pure power, and he's one of those kind of Joey Gallo, Aaron Judge, kind of these big young power hitters that we got coming up. And I don't know. I just see Cody advancing, but that'll be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah. So finally, we got the big boy, the 6'7", 250-pound, I think, Aaron Judge against Justin Bauer of the Miami Marlins, the hometown kid. Who you got in this one?
I actually have Judge going. I think Judge is going to be taking that power and showing it off quite well. You're not that big of a guy and not showing off power, so I think Bohr will do well, but I don't think he'll be able to outdo Judge in this one. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. I think Aaron Judge is a power king. Already 30 home runs this year. I mean, that's just insane. He's tearing it up all over the field. He's not only hitting a lot of home runs, all of his home runs, it seems like, are on StatCast up over 430, 440 feet. I mean, he's not just hitting home runs. He's crushing them way over the fence. I mean, he's making a joke. He's making a mockery of the MLB pitching right now. So I think Aaron Judge will have no problem. Sorry for the hometown kid. Maybe Giancarlo Stanton can win it for him. But that brings us to the second round, so the semifinals. So you've got, I think, Giancarlo Stanton against Sano. Who you got advancing in that one?
I'm going to take my Sano. I think he'll have enough to beat Stanton. I think Stanton will get a very good run on it. I think it's going to be very competitive up to the last home run. But I think Sano will be able to just power a couple more by just Stanton. And I think that's going to be my Sano to go into the championship on that one.
Nice. I figured you'd pick your Minnesota boy. I've got Stanton advancing. I don't see I don't see last year's champion getting out before the finals. I think Stanton's going to bring it. He's a big guy. He's got a lot of power, and he's just a beast. I got to say Stanton, but I think Sano's going to give him a run for his money. Those young kids, you never know how they're gonna do on the big stage. So Sano definitely could give him a run for it, but I'm gonna have to go Stanton. So on the other side of the bracket, you've got you've got Charlie Blackmon going up against Aaron Judge. Who do you got in that one?
Aaron Judge, hands down. Charlie Blackmon will pull the upset against the rookie, but I don't see him outpowering the big boy. I'm gonna have to go Aaron Judge on that one.
Aaron Judge, yeah, that's probably a popular pick. That's who I've got too. I've got Aaron Judge winning it all if I'm playing spoiler alert for the finals. But I just think Aaron Judge is too big of a kid with too much talent. If he can hit these 95 plus mile an hour fastballs and all these breaking balls out of the park like he has, and just made a joke of the MLB pitching, I can't even imagine what he can do when a guy's throwing him an underhand pitch. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. And I predict he's going to be spraying it all over that field. But so you've already got my pick, Aaron Judge winning it all against Giancarlo Stanton. You've got Sano going up against Aaron Judge. Who you got winning it?
I got Sano winning it. I think Judge will. I mean, he's going to use his power throughout the first two rounds to get up there, and I think he's going to overdo it. And then I think when he gets that championship, I think he's going to poop out. So I think I'm going to give it to Sano. I think Sano is going to have a nice, consistent swing. He's not ever struggling to get that power way out of the park. He can consistently just kind of get a natural swing and hit home runs. So I'm going Sano.
Yep. That's a fair pick. But yeah, I don't know. I see Aaron Judge just being too much for the competition. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be another fun home run derby. Again, make sure you fill out those brackets. Enter in for the sweepstakes. Try to win those 4 World Series tickets. And that link's on the MLB Facebook page, and I believe also on MLB.com. So check that out. But yeah, that's our breakdown of the Home Run Derby. Should be exciting. And now let's transition into the big event, the 2017 MLB All-Star Game. What'd you your overall take on the rosters? We'll start with the American League. Did you have any surprises, any for sure ins? Just your overall thoughts on the roster there, Evan.
The roster seemed pretty legit to me. I don't really see anyone that doesn't deserve to be in the All-Star, but then again, a lot of these guys are really good at their jobs. That's why they play in Major League Baseball. But as far as I can see, and AL, nothing really surprised me in that one. The only thing that I would like to note on the All-Star Game is I believe the manager, who was it? I believe it's the
Terry
Cleveland.
Francona.
Francona, yep. I think he had heart surgery, so he's missing the game. So they got the bench coach for Cleveland going in. I can't remember the name. I have to look at the update again that I saw, but Francona's due to his heart surgery, he's not going to be managing the game, so you won't see him. But I feel like a lot of the players on the AL are going to, battle a little bit harder for that sake, get him that win. But
Yep, that's true.
I don't
Very
know,
true.
Chuck. What do you think, Chuck? I'd like to hear your opinion because I'm kind of curious. You always have the inklings that you think that one person's not supposed to be in there. I'm kind of curious to see who that is this year.
Well, I mean, I was upset that my very own Elvis Andrus didn't win the final vote, but I'm fine with Moose taking it. He's a very good player, and he deserved to be in there. But I don't have too many problems with the roster on the American League side. It's too bad for Francona. That really sucks. His first All-Star game since he went to the championship, I think back in 2007 with the Red Sox. So, yeah, too bad for him. Hope he gets better. Well wishes sent towards Francona. But, I'm looking up and down this. I mean, it's a pretty stacked lineup as always. You've got some possible starting pitchers. You got Chris Sale, Santana, Jason Vargas has been absolutely nuts this year for the Royals. Kluber was replaced by Chris Archer. He's going to be pitching pretty close to the All-Star game. Keuchel was replaced. Darvish was replaced. Some of these guys pitching right up to the All-Star game, so they aren't going to be participating. But, who do you think, if you had to pick right now, who do you have starting the All-Star game for the AL side?
Who do I have as starter is a very good question. I honestly don't know. It's a very tough decision. But if I had to pick someone, I would put Vargas in there. I think that would be a good pick for Jason Vargas. He's been one of those people I've been kind of curious to watch, and he's performed very well. So I think he'd be an interesting starter.
I think that's a fair pick. Vargas has been kind of a surprise. He's a veteran. He's been in this league a long time. He's put up some pretty solid numbers over the years, but nothing quite like he has this year. Really tearing it up for the Royals, and a big reason why they're in that AL wildcard hunt. He's been outstanding, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him start the game. Me personally, I'm a big Rangers fan for Dallas, but I got to tell you, I mean, I would have loved to see Dallas Keuchel start this game. I think he really deserved it. He's been absolutely outstanding for the Astros. But like I said earlier, he's replaced by his own teammate, Chris Davinsky. Keuchel, one of the pitchers pitching right up to the All-Star game, so we're not going to see Keuchel pitch, but I think that'd be a pretty good pick. My backup, if I'm going off straight talent, Chris Sale is unbelievable. He's an absolutely amazing pitcher from the left side. He's got that great windup, and I think he would do an outstanding job. If you're just looking at strictly numbers, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody better than Vargas. But I don't know. If I'm the manager, I have a hard time passing on Chris Sale. I think the guy's absolutely unbelievable. He's going to have another 250-plus strikeout year. Just outstanding for Boston. That was a great deal in the offseason for them. And, so probably have to go Chris Sale. But moving on, we'll go to the National League side. Any surprises? Anybody you wanted to see in there? I know we're both American League fans, so we're not as familiar with the National League side, but just anybody you'd like to see in there or any surprises?
I kind of like G.J. LeMahieu. I think he's done pretty well. I think he's pretty much an underrated player that never really gets the respect. But I do believe he's going to pull some crazy stuff at second base. I can see him doing very well. As for pitching, I would have I think I'm going to have Zach Greinke start us off. I think that would be kind of nice to have him kind of come back and show what he's got. I know he's not performed quite as well later on here now, but I think if he came back and he could kind of pick it up, it'd be kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah. Greinke definitely has had a bounce back year. Last year, it looked like the Diamondbacks kind of got screwed with that deal, but he's back to his normal self. I had a big problem with one of the pitchers left out of the NL All-Star game. It turns out he's actually going to be on the roster, and that's Alex Wood of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Very unknown name, but if you don't know this kid, look him up. He's, I believe, 11-0 right now with a sub-2.5 ERA. I mean, absolutely outstanding numbers. And he's replacing Clayton Kershaw in the game. Kershaw one of those pitchers pitching right up to the All-Star game, so he will not pitch in the All-Star game. But it's very good for me to see Alex Wood get in there. He definitely deserved to be a vote in. Hopefully he gets to pitch in the game because this kid has been absolutely outstanding and extremely underrated this year. Look out for Alex Wood. Hopefully he can get in the game. But yeah, so that was really my only problem with the roster per se. As far as who I would like to see starting it, it's hard to pass on Clayton Kershaw. Now, he's not going to be pitching, obviously. But as a backup, I would probably have to go Scherzer. Max Scherzer of the Nationals has been incredible. It seems like he's constantly every year flirting with a no-hitter or a 20 strikeout game or some combination of the two. Scherzer's just been lights out and arguably one of the best pitchers in the MLB in the last 3 or 4 years. Max Scherzer is a stud, and I would love to have him starting the game for my team. I'd feel pretty confident about our chances.
I would disagree with Scherzer. I think he can have his good games. I do see that. But he can just as easily get those bad games, and he can get flustered pretty quickly. So I wouldn't have him as my starter. I think he could come in as a nice reliever to that All-Star game. I would say that he can perform maybe 1 or 2 good outs to kind of, still show off that he has something to give. But I would not put him as my starter. I just don't see that.
Oh, that's fair. So looking up and down the roster, you had a good point about DJ LeMahieu, and I think a lot of the Rockies are, just going back to this real quick, I think a lot of the Rockies over the years have been kind of underrated. I always loved Troy Tulowitzki in past years. I always thought he was an extremely underrated player. And now here lately, LeMahieu, Blackmon, Nolan Arenado, they've got some real studs in Colorado, and it's good to see the representation in the All-Star game this year with Arenado starting at third base, Blackmon making it and starting in the outfield, and LeMahieu making it also. It's good to see some of those big Rocky hitters get in because they definitely have deserved it in past years. But moving on real quick, we're staying on the All-Star game. We got one more point we wanted to bring up, and that's that this year is the first year, thanks to Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, this is the first year that the MLB All-Star Game will not dictate home field advantage in the World Series. I've got some kind of strong opinions of this. I want to hear yours. Evan, what's your take on the All-Star Game not maybe mattering as much in the MLB?
I think it's a bad decision. I'm kind of getting sick of all these what's the best word to look at? Your Roger Goodells, your MLB friggin' suit people. Come on, people. We cannot be having these guys dictate everything because they want to, move a game along quicker or get some more commercials in. This is just ridiculous. You need to keep the interest into the game, and this is why we have sports. We keep it for the game. We're not going in to make money out of it, and I think that's what a lot of these sports are getting away from. You go to football, the Pro Bowl does not mean much at all. You kind of watch it. It's a joke now. It's a really big joke compared to what it used to be in the past. At least they used to compete, and now you look at it and it's like they're doing trick plays and stuff isn't really taken seriously. If they try to sack somebody, it's kind of just half-assed. Where, and then now you're going into baseball where, okay, well, no, it doesn't really matter who wins the game. It's kind of just see what's going to happen. Well, I can't say it's going to be good for anyone that goes into this game now because it's going to just take them off of their game. You're just going to have people just trying to swing for the fence every time, which I think could affect their batting in the season. And then pitching-wise, if you're not actually trying to, strike people out, you're going to just basically throw meat pitches down there and waste your arm. Why even do that? Why try to get out of a funk, if you're just going to just half-ass everything? So I disagree with the fact that they're changing that. I think they need to put more emphasis in any kind of all-star game, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, anything you say. But that's how I look at it. So I would disagree with what the MLB has done to the all-star game.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on this one. I'm not in favor of it. Rob Manfred, if you don't know, became the MLB commissioner, I think 3 or 4 years ago now. And he's made some big changes. A lot of them have been pace of play related, getting rid of the intentional walk here recently, putting a time in between innings count, stop clock in the game, several changes like that. He's really trying to increase the pace of play, whereas actually if you look at the stats now, he's actually slowing the game down, or the game has slowed down as an independent factor of Rob Manfred. But either way, that's neither here nor there. The All-Star Game issue, though, I'm in very much opposition to this ruling. I loved the MLB All-Star Game, and you know, baseball is my favorite sport, the MLB my favorite league, but independent of that, the All-Star Game was amazing because you got to see the best players in the world come together, play as a team, and compete, because the All-Star Game, the MLB All-Star Game, is the only All-Star Game that actually meant something. Pro Bowl, NHL, NBA, all those All-Star Games have absolutely no weight on anything during the season or playoffs, whereas the MLB All-Star Game, if you don't know, the winner of the MLB All-Star Game, that league got home field advantage for the World Series. Now, some people viewed that as unfair because certain years teams with better records would get to the finals or get to the World Series, and they wouldn't have home field advantage due to this All-Star Game. But on the flip side of that, you got to see a real-life All-Star Game. You got to see the best players in the world play to the best of their ability and try to win these games, and it was magical watching that. And I'm really going to miss that. And I'm wondering what this year's All-Star Game is going to bring, what it's going to be like. Is the competitive nature still going to be there, or is it going to be a complete run-up of the score? And, you know, I'm not sure. Baseball's a little bit different, though, because if the score gets run up or, you know, whatever, you still got to keep in mind the pitchers. There's only so many pitchers on the roster, and they're not wanting these pitchers to throw too many pitches. I mean, the max innings you're going to get in an All-Star Game is 2. Most pitchers only pitch a single inning. So I don't really know how they're going to deal with that, but this year is going to be different. It's going to be interesting to see how the dynamic of the All-Star Game changes, but overall, I'm in opposition of it. I'm really going to miss the competitive nature, and I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? What do you think we can expect to see from this year's All-Star Game with the new changes, Evan?
Lots of high runs. I think there's going to be lots of home runs. I think there's going to be lots of base hits. I don't see the pitching coming out really doing much this year. Even with all these great pitchers, I think a lot of them are going to just try to save their arm, try not to overexert themselves. And I think a lot of people are going to walk up to that home plate and they're going to just try to hit every ball out of the park like it's a home run derby. And that's legit what I think it's going to be. I mean, you're not going to want to send your best pitchers and players into this game to like hurt themselves. You're just going to have them just go in and kind of show off. So if there's no competitiveness or no reason to win this game, you're really just putting your player out there to get hurt, especially in the middle of the season. I mean, you cannot be more risky than doing that with, you know, putting your best player out. With football, at least, you know, it's the end of the year now, and it's like, oh, you know, okay, you know, my team's not in the Super Bowl, so I can, you know, dig around and recover if I get hurt over a year. But, I mean, I see more risk to this now than it really is reward, and especially with the new rule change of it not mattering for the World Series, I don't see why we should even have it anymore. It's just like taking away the fun of the All-Star Game.
Yep, very true. And, you know, this is the last thing I'll say on it. I get the argument. I get the best record, you know, that's how it is in all the other sports. Best record gets the home field advantage, the fairness aspect of it. And I also get that the All-Star Game is kind of used more for a publicity stunt and that these players don't really want to go out, especially in the middle of their season, and sacrifice their bodies and pitchers sacrifice their arms. I totally get that aspect of it. I understand why Rob Manfred and some of these front office executive types made the decisions that they did, but I still just, I don't know. I still just can't be in total support of it just because of my own personal feelings. But we'll see. We'll see what this year brings. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But, yeah, it'll be an interesting dynamic. We don't all like change, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, we're going to wrap up this podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the current state of the MLB. So at the All-Star break, we're just a hair over the halfway mark, which we reached at the end of June. And we're going to look at the standings here, Evan. Let's just go division by division. So we'll kind of hit all your favorite teams. We'll kind of touch up on where we think things are headed, how the first half went, and we'll kick it off with the AL East. So AL East, Evan, what do you think about the Red Sox, Yankees, Rays, Orioles, and Blue Jays? Go ahead and tell me.
Well, I think the Orioles and the Blue Jays are definitely needing a rest. I know the Orioles have been on a kind of a rough couple games this last stretch here, and especially against my Minnesota Twins, they've been struggling. They won today, but, I really think they need to come into the All-Star break and kind of reevaluate and rest up just to kind of get their feet back underneath them. The Rays, they're playing 500 ball. I mean, they're about where you would expect them to be. Nothing too much that I think that they need to worry about. I think they need to keep playing and just kind of feel out what they need. Yankees in Boston, the Red Sox, I really think that's going to be competitive all the way through. It's been for the first half for sure. I think the Yankees are going to bounce back. They usually have a good second power swing through the second half of the season. The Red Sox, I think, are going to play good ball. I think they might hit a slump or two, but I think it's going to be very competitive all the way to the end of the season with the Red Sox and Yankees. But you never know. That's the fun of baseball.
Yep, for sure. The Blue Jays, interesting point on the Toronto Blue Jays, they're the only team this season, at no point during the season have they reached the 500 mark. So Blue Jays have been in a slump. They haven't been able to reach that 500 mark yet, and I believe there's something around 0-19 when they get to one game below. So Blue Jays, it's been a struggle. They lost some pieces in Encarnacion, among some others, but it's been a tough road for them. Orioles, same kind of thing. They've lost a few pieces. Matt Wieters a couple years ago got released, and they've had some injury struggles with Machado early in the year. So, yeah, it's been a tough road for both of those teams. I don't really see them making too much of a move. That's a tough division, and it's been a tough league. So, yeah, they had a tough first half, and I don't see it getting much better for them. Sorry, Oriole and Blue Jays fans. But looking at the Rays, 3 games over, huge surprise for the Rays, especially offensively. They've been a very offensive, depleted team in the past few years. Really, they've had some strong pitchers in Chris Archer and long ago David Price, and they've moved in some of these good pitchers, Hellickson and names like that. But they haven't had any offense, and this year they've really picked that up, and they're showing 3 games over 500, a solid record. They'll be right there in that wild card hunt to start the second half of the year. So Ray is a big surprise for me. But the real teams that I think it's going to come down to this year is the Red Sox and the Yankees. You go back through time, and that's been the story. But here again, the Yankees have got some real young talent in Judge and Sanchez. They've got a decent starting rotation, but they will definitely be looking to upgrade some of those spots come the trade deadline, July 31st. But, they've been hanging in. They're 5 games over. I think they've had a solid first half, and I think the Yankees definitely have the bank and the farm system especially to go out and make some big, big moves. I think the Yankees are going to really do some wheeling and dealing come the All-Star break or come the trade deadline, and I think they're going to be the most improved team when we look at the end of the year. Finishing up with the Red Sox really quick, Chris Sale's been amazing for them. Rick Porcello, the last year's Cy Young Award winner, has been a shell of himself. Absolutely terrible this year, but the knuckleballer, Stephen Wright, has been okay. He's still a little shaky, but if they can straighten out their starting rotation and if David Price can perform in the playoffs, the Red Sox are going to be a dangerous team to look at. They've got a hell of an offense in Bogarts and Betts and people like that. They got Mitch Moreland short up first base defense. So, yeah, the Red Sox are dangerous. Even though they lost Big Papi, they still got a lot of pop in their bats. Moving on to the AL Central, your division, the Twinkies. Go ahead and roll through. What do you think about those teams?
Big shock with the Tigers. I really thought they would do a lot better this year, but clearly they're having some problems. My White Sox, that I don't really care for, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm kind of glad they're at the bottom. I don't know. I've never just liked the White Sox very much, but they definitely are going to have to rebuild, kind of regather. I think they're going to have a kind of just a season of finding themselves. My Twins. Now, everybody has been bashing the Twins for quite a while. I honestly think that after last season, yes, it was the worst franchise season they've ever had. But, coming out of that, they really haven't made that many big changes. And I think it was just a matter of them coming together and really starting to find their bats. Last year we had terrible offense. We just struggled a lot. Pitching has not really improved, in my opinion. I think Santana, he's come out and he's performed very well, and I'm glad he's having a good year. But he's also starting to slump now in these last couple games, so I'm kind of hoping he finds himself. Kyle Gibson, my God, we need to get rid of him. I'm sorry. Even as a Twins fan, I just know he's had his chances. I think we need to get rid of him. I think he's performed at his top level, and it's just not quite enough. I would bring in some other, lower league people, just trying to test them out. And Mulder's been doing that. So I like where the Twins are at. They're kind of that 500 club that's still, battling, but they're very young and very talented. So I think they're going to build their way up. As for the Royals have definitely found their step. They've come from the bottom up and have just been going crazy. Their pitching has just become phenomenal. Their bats are just going crazy. And it's quite fun to watch the Royals, even though I'm not a big Royals fan. But, they always come out and they compete, and it's just fun to watch when they just destroy some teams. But it looks like Cleveland is still going to be that powerhouse team. They went to the World Series. They're going to fight for their crown again, and I don't really see them going downhill anytime soon. I think they're going to stay consistent at what they're at. They're going to keep charging forward, but you never know. This division is very competitive right now, even with the Twins being that wild card spot. I really think the Twins can make a good push, but I wouldn't expect them much to go farther. I would look for the Indians and the Royals to battle it out this season, and I really think the Royals are going to make a push at the end here.
Yep. Pretty much agree with almost everything there. You got the Tigers and the White Sox at the bottom. White Sox clearly in a rebuilding mode. It's not a fun time to be a White Sox fan, but they've got a pretty good farm system coming up, one of the top 5 ranked in baseball, so hopefully they can turn it around pretty quick. As for the Tigers, big upset this year. Really, really disappointing. They're 10 games under here with a couple games to go before the All-Star break. A lot of people really disappointed in Detroit. They've had a couple bright spots, but, really, really just underwhelming season for them so far. Moving up, Royals and Twins, I think it's going to be a battle for one of those wild card spots in the end. They both had very solid first halves for the bare bones. If you just look at the teams going into it, the Twins having, like you said, the worst season in franchise history last year, to turn it around and be 3 games over right now, almost heading into the All-Star break. That's huge for them. They've kind of found their offense. That's very true. I agree with you, though. They will need some better pitching, especially in the bullpen, and maybe shore up at 1 or 2 spots of that rotation. But Santana's been a big surprise. He had a hell of a April and May, maybe cooling off just a little bit, but he made the All-Star game. So, yeah, Twins are hanging in there. Royals, again, with Jason Vargas being unbelievable. They've kind of found their stride. Some key pieces, the key veterans in Hosmer and Moose and Perez have really stepped up, and they're hanging in there. They're also 3 games over with a couple games to go. And then you've got the Cleveland Indians. No surprise here. They're 8 games over. The big surprise, I think, was their April and May. Really slow start for the Indians. Kind of left them in a hole, but they've definitely dug themselves out. And then that slightly weaker AL Central with the Tigers not doing as good, it kind of dilutes that competitiveness. The Royals and Twins hanging right around 500. I just don't see anyone competing with the Indians. They only improved from last year, and they were one of the best teams in baseball last year, very close to a World Series. The one thing I will say about the Indians I'm looking at here, it's very, very puzzling, is they're 21-23 at home, below 500 record at home, with 26-16 on the road. So very road happy team there. Maybe that'll play to a strength when they go into October, but Indians very strong first half, looking for a strong second half. Wouldn't be surprised if they take the Central there. Moving on to my division, the AL West. Evan, go ahead and give your quick breakdown of the West.
I just want to add one thing to my Central really quick.
Go
Twins
ahead.
Twins also had a very good road record. I mean, they are one of the best teams on the road, and it's quite interesting to see how they do so well on the road. And home, they're struggling a bit. But anyway, yeah, we are under the West. Pretty obvious on what's going on in the West. Astros have just dominated this year, and I think they're going to continue to do so. I think this All-Star break is actually going to slow them down a bit. I really think that it's going to kind of hurt their run, but they'll be able to easily pick out of that and battle through. Angels and Rangers battling, neck and neck right now for that second spot, but I would say that, the Rangers they've been struggling this year. I thought they would do a little bit better. I honestly thought they'd be above 500 for sure. It's kind of upsetting to see how the Rangers have, fluctuated through the time since of that World Series, but I'm actually quite surprised with the Angels as well. Angels were doing just well, and I think they just kind of lost focus on who they needed to keep and weren't really getting managed very well. So now I think they're kind of struggling with finding their stride as well. Mariners, I would say, even though they're in fourth place right now, their offense is doing phenomenal. I've seen them play, and their offense does quite well. Pitching and defense is their big weakness, though. Lots of errors. Pitching is very inconsistent. There's times they get really flustered and just let things go. And the A's are just kind of, again, they're that rebuild team, kind of finding themselves again. Just need to kind of get themselves back in order and feel how they can, rebuild for the next season already, because I don't think they're catching Astros anytime soon, or for that matter, any wild card spot for that.
Yeah, some very good points there. Moving from the bottom up, A's, again, kind of like the White Sox, clearly a rebuilding team for them. They're constantly rebuilding with that Moneyball facet that Billy Bean's got going on over there. So, yeah, A's rebuilding year, no surprise there. Mariners, big surprise. Really, it just seems the past 3 years, we keep saying the next year is going to be the Mariners' year. Next year is going to be Mariners' year. And this year, another disappointment, 4 games under going into the All-Star break with a couple games left. I don't really have any answers for the Mariners. They went out, they got Juan Segura, the Diamondbacks, to shore up some of that offense. And, I guess you could say Felix and Iwakuma have been hurt, so that's kind of hurt their rotation. But big surprise there. Really thought this was the Mariners' year, but, Robbie Cano had a slow start, and they just haven't found it. So we'll see. Rangers and Angels kind of right there in the middle for the wild card mix. Rangers been a disappointment this year. They lost some key pieces. Not a total surprise to me, but I definitely would have picked them to be around 5 games over 500 at this point. It's been bullpen. It's been the big story for them. Can't find a closer, and it's just been bullpen struggles all the way. Now they've got their starting rotation healthy going into the second half of the year, so we'll see if that helps them out at all. But the offense has been solid. Angels have been a pretty big surprise. Really thought this was more of a rebuilding year for them more than anything else. Especially, Mike Trout goes down at the end of May, and you just think that there goes their whole team. Albert Pujols is approaching 40. They have a pretty poor farm system. I don't really know how they're doing it, but they're making it work. They're hanging in right there, tough in the wild card race, and we'll see what the second half brings, but a very solid first half of the Angels. And then you've got the Astros killing it. I said this in one of our last podcasts. They're just a ticking time bomb. They've got a very youthful core, very talented with kids like Correa and Altuve and George Springer. And, they added those veteran leadership pieces, Josh Reddick and Carlos Beltran and stuff like that. Keuchel's been back to being a boss. So Astros are running away with it. I think they'll finish with the best record in the AL, barring any kind of injuries. And I don't see them slowing down too much. But we'll just have to see. They've been very impressive, and they've got quite a ways to go, but very impressive early on. Switching over to the National League real quick. Let's go NL East. Evan, what you got?
NL East, I'm going to work my way from the bottom up. Phillies, really rough start. I mean, just really rough. It's going to be a rough time to watch the Phillies this year. Definitely going to need to rebuild. Mets and Marlins, I mean, they are definitely having a hell of a time trying to get to 500. Really, I think they're just going to need to find their stride. Maybe need a couple key pieces added to their teams, and they'll get there eventually. But the Braves, I mean, even as the Braves are just 2 games below 500, I think they have really taken a step up, just like the Twins have. Really have kind of like stepped up and rebounded from that really bad year. I mean, as the Twins had their worst franchise year last year, it's kind of good to see that they've rebounded as well. The Braves kind of pushing their way back up the ladder here and really going to, show that, hey, we can bounce back and we're not that bad. So it's good to know. But the Nationals, I mean, they are just on fire. And it's quite interesting. I would say that they're going to give the Astros a run for the money as well for the best record in the MLB. But like I said, Nationals have just been fantastic, and I would love to watch them as the season goes on.
Okay, I'll start from the bottom up too. Phillies rebuilding. Not much else to say if you're a Phillies fan. Sorry about it. It's been quite a while since about 2008 when they won the World Series. So just a long time rebuilding for the Phillies, and Philly fans just hang in there. Mets, big disappointment the past couple of years for the Mets since they made it in 2015. Got that great young starting rotation, but guys like Matt Harvey and who was it, Syndergaard that went down. So they've had some injury troubles, and their offense has been a little wishy-washy. They got traded Daniel Murphy, so it's been tough for the Mets. Marlins had a lot of upside going into the season, a lot of things to look forward to, just hasn't panned out. I don't see them really competing for the wild card. Marlins fans, it's been a little bit longer than the Phillies fans since you've really had something to cheer about. But, maybe they'll turn around their farm system, but this just isn't the year for the Marlins. Braves, huge turnaround. They finished with the worst record in the MLB, I believe, last year, and 2 games under with a couple games to go for the All-Star break. Solid first half for them. They signed R.A. Dickey and Bartolo Colon in the offseason, 2 of the oldest players in the MLB. Colon already got DFA'd, but they shored some things up. Freddie Freeman was hurt for a little while, but he's back and tearing it up again. Stellar start for the Braves. They could be in the wild card hunt before the end of the year. Nationals running away with this division. Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, Anthony Rendon, Steven Strasburg. I mean, you just go down the line. It's like an all-star team on there. So Nationals, very solid team, very solid pitching, very solid hitting. They're going to be a dangerous team to look for in October. Moving on to the Central, Evan.
I'm going to start my way from the bottom up again. The Reds, Reds and Pirates are just going to be kind of, floating around. I think that they can find a couple good hot streaks, but I don't see them pretty much moving from where they're at right now. The Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers, I think those 3 teams are going to be the teams to watch in the NL for very good competitiveness because all these teams are right next to each other. I mean, it could swing either way throughout this next half season here. And I really think that the Cubs are kind of surprisingly, they fell. I'm surprised that they fell as far as they did. The Cardinals, I figured they would do a little bit better as well, but you never know. I think that both these teams could probably find themselves in a good hot streak and just as easily push their way back up. The Brewers, I'm very proud of the Brewers of what they've done. It seems like they've done very well this last couple streaks here. They were 8-2 in their last 10 games. I think that that's very good that they are able to kind of get that streak right before the All-Star break going in on a good note, and hopefully they can continue that streak. Okay,
yeah, that's some solid points. I'm going to agree with you again mostly here. Reds, again, rebuilding mode. They're in the same boat with the Phillies, the White Sox, and the A's. Not too many bright spots there. You got Zach Cozart making the All-Star team. And he's not just a bona fide All-Star, just because everybody gets an All-Star. Zach Cozart, if you haven't seen this kid, look him up. Solid player out there in Cincinnati. So that's a bright spot for them. But other than that, not going to compete much. The Pirates, man, they've just been a slow, steady decline since about 2012. It's been kind of sad to see. You know, I really loved seeing the Pirates make it to the playoffs and go deep in that National League playoffs a few years ago with McCutchen and guys like that. But man, it's sad to see that slow decline because it's been so long for Pirates fans. But just hang on in there. I don't think this is your year, but maybe they'll make some deals in the off season or bring some kids up. But they've got some solid players out there. McCutchen's getting a little old, but it's just not the year for the Pirates. Cardinals, they're sitting about where I thought they would be, maybe a game or two over 500. They're 3 games under right now. They've had a solid first half. They've also been in kind of a steady decline since about 2011. But they've had some injuries. I think Michael Wacha's been hurt again this year, so not too bad for the Cardinals. They might be in the wild card hunt. They're always kind of hanging around, but not too exciting for Cardinals fans this year. Cubs, obviously the huge disappointment in the MLB. They're 1 game under right now, and the Cubs and the Indians kind of had a similar slow start, and people on both sides were kind of panicking. The Indians found a way to right the ship and really have hit a hot streak here in June and July. The Cubs really never found it. They're 1 game under. I can't say for sure if they're going to find it in the second half. I think they've got a decent shot. They haven't lost too many people, and they haven't really had that many injuries. I don't have a good explanation for what's gone on in Chicago. Maybe it's just a World Series hangover. But, if you're a Cubs fan, you're not too happy after that. Well, I guess you're still happy from the World Series last year, but you're not too happy with this year. The big surprise, the Brewers, 8 games over right now. Huge surprise, especially trading away their star catcher, Jonathan Lucroy of the Rangers, and a solid reliever in Jeremy Jeffress. They were wheeling and dealing last year. They traded away several key players to some teams last year, and they've come out, and Corey Knebel has been an amazing closer for them. They've really surprised some people. Brewers having a solid season. We'll see if they can keep it up in the second half. Last but not least, Evan, let's wrap it up with the NL West. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to start with the Giants and the Padres. Clearly, they are already going to have to look into the next season with this power of a team. The Dodgers are just killing it, and it is just fun always to watch the Dodgers. Never a dull moment. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies are making a good push for that second spot. I think that they could find that stride and make a charge at the Dodgers, but Dodgers are just playing such good baseball. I mean, it's just kind of hard to see that, any of these 3 teams not just being guaranteed a spot. I would say that the Rockies, they were off to a really good start. It's kind of interesting to see them in third place, but I mean, look at their record. It's still 51-38. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the division to watch for. I don't want to get into the playoffs too much, but I mean, these are the teams that you're definitely going to want to watch in the playoffs because it's just going to be fun to watch which teams they go against and how they just perform.
Yeah, definitely. You heard it. You heard it from Evan. The NL West, if you haven't been watching, is the division to watch. Clearly, the best division in baseball. Giants and Padres, they're both rebuilding. The Padres have been for a while. The Giants are just kind of getting into that rebuilding phase. Definitely had some things not pan out. Johnny Cueto and Samardzija, and they made some deals last in the off season, but it just hasn't been enough. They've been worse than even they thought they were going to be. So bad year for the Giants, but hey, you had a pretty good run in the early 2010s. Padres, have been rebuilding for a while. They've got a ways to go. But the 3 top teams, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Rockies, and the Diamondbacks and Rockies, I mean, hands up for especially the Diamondbacks. Great starts to the season. 3 teams with over 50 wins going into the All-Star break. That's amazing. Rockies, great offense out there in Coors Field, and they've shored up some of those starting pitching woes. The Diamondbacks, those young studs in Goldschmidt and Pollock have been showing up, and Greinke has really solidified that trade that they made a couple of years ago. So, the Diamondbacks look great. And then the Dodgers have just been on absolute fire these last 2, 3, 4 weeks. Cody Bellinger, the rookie sensation, been cranking them. Clayton Kershaw has been his normal self. The Dodgers are definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. Now, can they do it in the playoffs? We all know Dodgers' playoff troubles. But, 3 solid teams in the NL West. Diamondbacks and Rockies just might run away with the wild card, and we might be looking at a 3 NL West team playoff come October. So very exciting to watch. Well, before we sign off, Evan, do you have any last comments for the listeners?
I don't really have much else to say. I think that the All-Star game is still going to be kind of interesting for the first time of not having very much importance. I would like to still watch it just to see how everything kind of plays out. But, I'm just glad I'm a baseball fan. It's always fun to watch baseball and talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are going to get out of here. We ran a little bit long on this podcast. Sorry about that, guys, but thank you so much for listening. Hope you watch the All-Star game. Hope you make up the racket for the MLB Home Run Derby. And hope you guys have a great weekend.
Yep.
Have fun. And, hope you guys keep listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.